Welcome to Shibuya, a place that has shaped consumer culture, fashion trends, and musical tastes since the 1960s. To get here, just hop on the JR Yamanote line going in the Shinagawa direction from Tokyo Station and go 11 stops. You can also get here via the JR Saikyo line, Keiyo Inokashira line, Tokyu Dennen Toshi and Toyoko lines, as well as 3 other Tokyo Metro subway lines. Shibuya Station is a popular and busy place. Right outside of the station you can find the Scramble Crossing. It is estimated that as many as 3,000 people can cross the Scramble at a single time. Bedecked in LCD screens, the Scramble Crossing fans out in all directions from Shibuya Station. And the Scramble Crossing is just as busy at night as it is during the day. Shibuya is an important place for youth culture and nightlife. Stations are easy spots to meet up with friends. As Elisa Friedman explains in Tokyo in Transit, one of the most popular meeting places from the 1930s through the present has been the statue erected honoring the loyal dog Hachiko at Shibuya Station in 1934. Starting in 1924, Hachiko waited there each afternoon for his master Ueno Hidesaburo, an agriculture professor at the University of Tokyo, to come home from work. Even after Ueno suddenly died of a stroke at the university, the dog frequently returned to Shibuya Station to look for him. This Akita was promoted as an exemplar of loyalty and wartime propaganda and was memorialized in the 1987 film Story of Hachiko and its 2009 American remake Hachi, A Dog's Story. From the Scramble Crossing, as you head down Dogenzaka and up to Bunkamura-dori, you can find the Shibuya 109 building, an important shopping mall that has set fashion trends in Japan and beyond for many years. In Shibuya, there are also 2 important fashion building type department stores that trace their roots back to the machizukuri, or town building activities of the 1960s. The Parco and Tokyu stores are the anchors around which the newer stores like the 109 building in Shibuya began to take form. Just to the northeast of the Bunkamura area, we can find Parco, which means park in Italian, on Koendori Street. This street, whose name means Park Way, leads to Yoyogi Park and Harajuku beyond. As evidenced by the naming of the property and the street, Machizukuri commercial and political planners wished to put together a plan to shape cultural and consumer behavior, connecting busy locales to attractive spaces containing trendy items. From 1973 until the bubble era of the 1990s, Parco was not just a store, it was an experience. Parco pioneered the fashion building concept, leasing space to various fashion outlets where they operated pop-up stores. Hip bars and restaurants rounded out the experience. As internet shopping and backstreet boutiques siphoned off customers in more recent years, Parco needed to reinvent itself. Their original Shibuya location was shut down in 2016 in order to undergo a massive rehabilitation. Reopening in November of 2019, Parco found a way to recombine fashion, consumer interests, and experiential gastronomy into a new package. Housing roughly 190 stores, including the only official licensed Nintendo goods outlet in Japan, the new Parco is filled with high-tech displays and gadgetry to make even the most savvy netizen feel right at home. Shibuya's name means Bitter Valley, but in the last 10 years it's also become known as Bit Valley, as a number of internet startup companies and smaller tech houses have taken root and started to grow in the Shibuya area. Shibuya is a busy place, a fashionable place, and a place to see and be seen. Fashion is not limited to the high fashion of the department stores, but it's also found in the street fashion of the back streets and the boutiques, which you can see continuing along this type of street and along the way into Harajuku. This is Shibuya's Centa Avenue, where you can find not just fashion, but also food, karaoke, and other entertainments. Spending time on this pedestrian thoroughfare is a nice way to experience the culture of Shibuya. Hopping back on the Yamanote line for one stop to the north, you'll find yourself in Harajuku. You can also reach it by the Chiyoda subway line. And this area is famous for street fashion, especially Takeshita Street, which we'll see in a moment. Harajuku is also the site of the Meiji Jingu Shrine, where the first modern emperor of Japan, Emperor Meiji, who rose to power in 1868, is enshrined. Like most other shrines, water separates the shrine from the area you approach. So you cross the Meiji Jingu Bridge, and then you go through two torii. Torii gates are what mark the sacred space of a Shinto shrine. And then you can go into the inner shrine, where the presence of the Emperor Meiji is believed to be housed within. As we head north along this path, we are struck by the natural grandeur and beauty of this park with its old trees and dense thickets. This park not only contains the shrine compound, but a number of other recreational areas and places for people to stop, contemplate, and relax. Sake and rice are very important to Shinto as well, so we saw casks of rice wine, that is sake, along the path here, donated by various sake makers to the shrine. But surprising enough, opposite the rice wine was wine from grape producers all over the world. According to traditional Shinto beliefs, human beings can become kami, or divinities. The imperial family was believed to be descended from the sun goddess Amaterasu, as recorded in Japan's earliest book, the Kojiki, or Record of Ancient Matters, in the year 712. The Emperor Meiji is important because he was the first emperor to have political authority since the 11th century, and he became the rallying point for the Shishironin, or men of high purpose, from western Japan, who helped to topple the aging Tokugawa shogunate. The Tokugawa family had maintained order from 1603 to 1853. In 1853 and 1854, American gunboats arrived demanding that Japan be opened for trade. With just swords, the Tokugawa were powerless to stop the Americans. The arrival of these barbarians with gunboats, with new dangerous weapons and steam technology, spurred these Shishironin to take matters into their own hands. If the shogunate would not prevent Japan from being overrun by these foreigners, something had to be done. They adopted the new technology, and in the end used it to overthrow the Tokugawa, ushering in a new era. As we leave the shrine compound and head back over the bridge and in front of Harajuku Station, we find ourselves back at Takeshita-Doori. It's about 10:30 in the morning, and most shopkeepers are still getting ready for the day, as all of the shops open around 11 o'clock. So if you get here this early, stop in the Daiso 100 yen shop or the Biku Camera to do a little bit of shopping for things not fashion related. But for foreigners looking for a low-cost souvenir to bring home from Takeshita Street, side vendors like this one sell socks and t-shirts for a reasonable price. Look in there. Notice the WC store here on your left. There's also an outlet of the WC in the Shibuya 109 building, so you can see how street fashion has moved into the more high fashion places of Shibuya. As the global flow of culture increases, it's interesting to see places like McDonald's and Wendy's on this street. I have to take a picture of that too. Wendy's in Harajuku. The importance of Takeshita Street, and Harajuku in general, in shaping global street fashion trends cannot be underestimated. One American informant who works at a small fashion design firm that caters to Target and other retailers told me of her use of fashion trend spotters who go to Harajuku to take photos of emerging concepts to be reproduced abroad. American designers will make new fashions based on the photos and the trends that they have seen, and then ship these designs off to factories in China to be produced, brought back home, and shipped to places like Target and other retailers, allowing American youth access to these fashions that started with the creativity of Takeshita Street. If Akihabara is said to cater to the otaku culture with a particularly male dynamic, Takeshita Street is here for the fashion-forward female thinker. The operative term here is kawaii, or cute. But not just clothing stores. We can also find outlets for fashionable accessories, perfumes, and cosmetics. Even food can be kawaii. Crepes, candies, and other sweet shops are also de rigueur. It may seem quiet now, but 20 minutes from the time this was filmed, it gets really exciting. From the days of the gyaru, kogyaru, and yamamba in the 90s and early 2000s, to the buriko, the decora, the gothic and fancy lolita, and more, all of these street fashion trends began with the small boutiques of Harajuku. Fashion is an ever-changing thing. By the time a fashion trend has made it to our imagination, it's already passed in Harajuku. Western artists have taken note of the Shibuya-kei sound. This style of J-pop is typified by groups like Pizzicato 5, Cornelius, Fantastic Plastic Machine, Yukari Fresh, and the United Future Organization, and many more. While many American artists have taken note of the Shibuya-kei sound, it can be said to be dead as of 2015, as the district has lost a lot of its character and has moved more into an area of consumerism. However, if you keep your eyes and ears open, you can still find pockets of that same creativity. As we wrap up our short visit to Shibuya and Harajuku, it's important to take note of how the past and present, the built environment of the concrete and the natural, and the consumption habits of youth alongside the dreams of planners past have shaped the landscape. I hope you'll get to visit in person one day soon.